And here's a man who has courage. He's a professor at a Jesuit-run Catholic university that does not appear to be Catholic except in name. He has now been fired even though he has tenure. And how do you fire a professor with tenure? What do you have to do? I mean, you have to do something egregious. Well, we'll find out what he did. His name is John McAdams. He is a professor at Marquette University. I've had you on before, Professor. Welcome back to the Dennis Prager Show.
Good to be here. But one minor correction, I haven't been fired yet, but it certainly appears that they're going to do that.
Okay, that's good. I mean, to the extent that it's good, it's good. Why don't you reacquaint our listeners with what the cause célèbre at your university is?
I blog. I have a blog called the Marquette Warrior blog.
By the way, forgive me, you're a professor of what?
Political science. And I blog, and I have a blog that has often been critical of things that happen at Marquette. And a student came to me about a discussion he'd had with a philosophy instructor. It was after class, but the instructor in class had briefly mentioned gay marriage and had implied that the philosopher being discussed, John Rawls, would of course approve of gay marriage, and then moved on very quickly, not allowing discussion. And the student confronted the instructor after class and said, that he would like to discuss gay marriage, and he made it clear that he was opposed to gay marriage. The instructor, her name was Cheryl Abate, could have said, well, I didn't think it would be a good use of class time. That would be a fair enough response. Professors have to decide, what is a good use of class time and what isn't. But she didn't say that at all. What she said is, you're not allowed to make homophobic remarks in class. Then she asked him, do you know anyone who's gay in the class? Well, he didn't or she didn't, but there might have been somebody. And she said, well, don't you think that would be offensive if you argued against gay marriage? So he was forbidden to argue against gay marriage because it would be homophobic and would offend any gay students who might happen to be in class. Well, I blogged about this. It went viral. A lot of outlets picked it up, including the Fox News website. And it got a lot of reaction, but some of the reaction consisted of fairly nasty emails directed at the instructor, at Cheryl Abate. So Marquette blamed me for those emails, notwithstanding that I hadn't said anything, I hadn't encouraged them, I hadn't hinted that anyone should email her. All I'd said about Abate was that she was using a tactic typical of liberals these days, which is to try to shut up debate rather than to actually debate their position. That's all I said, that she'd used a tactic typical of liberals these days. But she got some nasty emails, and Marquette blamed me for those emails. And in December of 2014, I was suspended. My classes were canceled. I was told I couldn't come on campus. And just recently here, a couple of weeks ago, I was told that I would be suspended until the end of the year without pay. I'd been suspended with pay before that. But then, and this was the kicker, that I had to apologize for my initial blog post and admit that I'd been wrong and admit that I'd been reckless, and that I also had to swear kind of a loyalty oath saying I would abide by Marquette's guiding values, which are, of course, vague statements. Of course, I'm not going to engage in any forced speech. I'm not going to confess that I was wrong when, of course, I don't think I was wrong.
How did you know what this woman, Abate, said to the student? Was it recorded? Was it videoed?
It was recorded. The student recorded the conversation. So there was no doubt whatsoever.
Right. I'm still not quite understanding what you did wrong. You reported a conversation made by an instructor to a student. That's it. Why, even from their perspective, what can they charge you with?
Well, they charged me with acting recklessly by putting up that blog post with Cheryl Abate's name in it.
So what? So she's allowed to engage in that behavior, say those things to a student, but you are not allowed to report that she said it.
That appears to be Marquette's position.
No, not appears. That is Marquette's position.
Well, yes. They don't say such explicitly, but yes, you're quite right about the logic of what they're doing.
Right. That is there a problem with the student recording a conversation without the permission of the other person?
First of all, it's perfectly legal in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is what's called a one-party consent state. Now, organizations like the American Association of University Professors really think it's really bad if students record their professors. Of course, I didn't tell the student to record the professor. He simply came to me with an account of what happened. And of course, as a journalist, I would have been, foolish not to consult a, ironclad source that confirms his account. The idea that students shouldn't record their professors is a kind of parochial, self-interested notion of the academic profession. It arose when conservative students started recording crazy left-wing comments from crazy left-wing professors. Now, I believe in academic freedom, so I believe that crazy left-wing professors have a right to say crazy left-wing things without being fired, but I don't think they have a right to say crazy left-wing things without having those crazy left-wing things known to, whomever might be interested. So the same day that Turning Point USA, a conservative student organization, demonstrated in my favor, a few other students demonstrated against me. Gallup recently did a poll of students and found that the majority, I think a little over 70%, favored free speech on campus, but there are politically correct activist students. We've seen them at Yale, we've seen them at the University of Missouri, we've seen them at a lot of institutions who simply don't believe in free speech on campus and would try to shut up any speech they happen to disagree with. So the intolerant students are a minority.
Yeah, but they're winning.
Marquette University is not particularly leftist or left-wing, but like most universities, even moderate universities, there's a contingent of what were called social justice warriors who will go out and demonstrate demonstrate in sympathy with University of Missouri students. Some Marquette students did that, and the president of Marquette, Michael Lovell, and the provost were out there in sympathy with them.
Best of my knowledge, it is a coincidental relationship between Marquette and Catholicism. Yet, to the best of my knowledge, the Catholic Church does not allow priests to perform same-sex marriages.
It also objects to same-sex marriage as public policy. In other words, they don't.
Right, even outside of the Catholic Church. Right. Okay.
Correct. Yes,
so
correct.
So it's even more remarkable that you're being fired.
Yes, it is. There's a tendency of a lot of religious institutions to become secular over time that has certainly affected Marquette.
And this is a perfect example. Marquette is now, its religion is leftism, not Catholicism. And you are the sacrificial lamb here. They should play Handel's Messiah when you leave, because you truly are the sacrificial lamb of this university. Have any professors come out on your behalf?
A few only.
I don't mean in written emails to you. I mean publicly.
That's what I meant, publicly. One professor in the English department, one professor, interestingly, who's come out in my favor is a guy named Dan McGuire, who is been for decades a strong supporter of abortion, legalized abortion, a strong supporter of gay marriage, who's come out in my favor.
Well, I said this is a liberal principle.
Yeah.
It's a liberal principle to have freedom.